Hello.
Hello. We're Laserdog. Thanks for coming, everyone. This is our presentation called Enough to Go Full Time. So, Laserdog, we're a two-man indie game development studio. We're based in Leeds. We've been active since 2012, and we have released 2 games on iOS and Android in all those years. Some great photographs. So I'm Rob Allison. I do all the programming and the music. And I just added this today. I don't actually really do that. But I do social with my wife helping.
And I'm Simon Renshaw. I do visual design, sound, and marketing.
We added that one as well. We both do the game design together. That's kind of the main part of our job. So how we started, Simon actually DM'd me on Twitter. I used to make games on my own, and I'm a programmer, so my games looked horrible. It was all programmer art. So I needed an artist, and Simon needed a developer. So he DM'd me on Twitter. We were going to meet in some like trendy coffee bar, but we did it quite late, and they were all shut. So we went to Yates's. And,
it was great, actually. Yeah.
I think we were all both driving as well, so we got a pint of full-fat Coke each. And hyped up on caffeine and sugar, we talked about games for like an hour before we actually started talking about what we were going to do.
We talked about the bit in Metal Gear Solid 3 where you walk up a ladder, actually, for about an hour.
Like one of the best games, one of the best things in gaming ever.
It was really sad and cringy moment, in fairness.
And we decided to work together. It was great. I still get a tear in my eye when I walk past the Yates's. So... our plan has always been to make good games, and it's good games for what we think good games are, which obviously games are meant to be fun. You need to have skill to play them. Like there's a lot of hand-holding in games nowadays. Our game's always fast as well. We don't know how to make a slow game. You say this better.
Yeah, no, we don't.
And also we believe in simple pricing. We don't know how to make virtual economies and in-app purchases and stuff. We like a game, you pay for it and you get it, and then that's yours. We'll update it and you get the updates for free and all that kind of thing. So we were working in our other jobs. I was a web developer. Simon owned a web design business. So when we were making games with that as well, it was all part-time, so it's evenings and weekends, which we love making games, but it's quite difficult. All of your time's taken up with work, even though we love making games. So we wanted to get from Peter Parker, looking very sad, to this. And this is what this talk is about. So what we've made, do you want to take over?
So, so the first game we made is a game called Puck, which is action puzzler sort of game. And this is the game me and Rob sort of, first one we got together. It's the one we talked about in Yates. And it did fairly well. And that kind of led us on to... Alone, which is the game we're here to talk about tonight, which did really well. It's an endless runner.
Do you want to take this?
No, it's fine. So prototyping, this is how we kind of make games. We recently came up with a thing where we started doing New Game Friday, which has really helped us to do this. We're now developing a huge amount of prototypes. Pretty much every week we will spend the whole day working on prototypes. But these are some of the kind of fundamental things that we ask ourselves about prototypes. Is it fun? Is it hard? Can we actually make it? Which is a real sticking point. And this quote, which we've just chucked in there, is be prepared to chop your baby's heads off. This was my request, actually. As a precious designer, I find I have to face this quite often, is chopping my beautiful baby's heads off because they're just not...
We worked on a game called Skybound for 9 months. And it was crap.
No.
So we reached a point where we had to chop the baby's head off there and continue with something else. And it's really difficult when you put 9 months' work into something. So that's where that comes in.
Yeah. So these are some of the prototypes.
Yeah, we've released 2 games, but these are the games we've made in the last couple of years. Like all of these are
really
a lot of work, but none of them were as good enough. We had a vision, but they weren't that good, so you can only make games which are good. So this brings us on to the prototype for Alone, which I named 2X4B, which is Crichton's middle name in Red Dwarf. Hey! So this is the Instagram I posted the night I made it. So if anyone's played Alone, you'll notice the gameplay's the same, but it's yellow and programmer art.
And the prototype's actually in the game as well, so if you watch the credits all the way through and listen to the soundtrack for about 4 minutes, this just
you get to play the prototype. So the inspiration behind this prototype that I made was actually a bottle of red wine. My wife was out for the night. I decided to have a bottle of red wine and spend the night programming. Yeah, it was great. Candles. Candles were lit. So it took me 3 hours. I named it 2X4B, as I've already said. I don't know why I put that on twice. It was absolutely full of bugs, but the most important thing I found it really fun, which is the main point, really.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with me. If he finds it fun, we're on.
Apparently so. So at this point, I had a prototype which I wanted to show to Simon. And do you want to take this part?
Yeah. So this is the point where we kind of make it. Well, the question is, can we make it feel like a game? Make it feel like a full game? So quite often, as is the case with prototypes, you can make a toy quite easily. You can get something that plays really well for sort of 5 minutes. But making it into a full game is a lot more difficult. So that's kind of the first part. We started doing this Indiana Jones thing, didn't we? Which is
I'll take this.
Yeah.
So the Indiana Jones moments in Alone, if you've played Alone, it's where there's a rock falling and it's about to crush you and you just get under it. And it's so close that you want to reach and get your hat back and put it on. So I named them Indiana Jones moments. I think in the code it says Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I think it was from Empire Strikes Back as well, wasn't it? We watched a lot of that.
Asteroid Field.
Yeah. So yeah, Game Juice. That's the other part. Do you want to carry on?
Game Juice is a technical term that game developers seem to use, and that's particle effects, the screen flashes, and screen shake, which is really important because it turns a really boring prototype into like really hectic, intense gameplay. And we gave the player a score, which in the original prototype there's no score, which there's no point to that. And the most important thing, we give someone a way to die, which makes it difficult.
Death is actually really, really important in a game. A lot of sort of modern games, particularly on mobiles, there's not a lot of death in there. There's a lot of hand holding and that sort of thing, and we feel quite strongly about that, don't we?
So we had the yellow prototype, and now we got to the point where Simon was ready to actually work on the real things.
Yeah. So this is my bit. So first thing, visual style. This is something obviously very precious to me, and for me, the first kind of place to look at is existing games. So Cannibal, this is a game, the top right, the sort of black and white or grey game. It's the first of the endless runner sort of genre, and probably still the best. And it's a really, really great game, and kind of defining for the style. And I started looking at some of these kind of spaceship designs, because obviously we knew the game, the sort of feel of the game was going to be about, it was obviously based in space. We kind of decided that fairly early. And so there was a lot of this sort of rounded style around these kind of rounded crafts. But I came across this little icon on a design site, and it really reminded me of the kind of Soyuz space re-entry vehicle, which was, that was kind of the inspiration for the whole concept after that, wasn't it? So yeah, this kind of space re-entry vehicle made us think of the kind of the idea of a guy being alone on a ship, which is where the name came from, and then the style, came from there. Then this is some of the early artwork that we did. I think this was probably within about maybe a week after you came up with the prototype. So I found this Dark Knight poster, which I just thought was absolutely gorgeous, and that was the first kind of concept that I based it fairly tightly off that. I have a big problem with color and design, so if I find something that feels pretty solid on the color, I'll take that and I start designing with that in mind. And then there's the E.T. shot down there as well, which obviously the moon from the Dark Knight picture made me think, okay, well, we should definitely have moons in there, and then we're going to have this E.T. moment in there at some point. So, and this is just some more concept art, which was really this is to kind of make sure that the initial style works with various different colours, and that it's going to be, you know, big enough for us to flesh out into a full game. So the first thing we needed outside of this was to actually get some marketing going, and so we wanted to get a teaser trailer together. I think we did this in a day, and the idea was to get the name out, get the concept, launch date. We didn't have any gameplay footage at this point. We only had those mock-ups. So I think we did 2 days worth of animation, which was all done in After Effects. 3 hours on the music, which was Rob, which is really, really awesome. And you put that together really quickly.
Thanks.
And 20 minutes of voiceover, which is me. And Rob.
Simon does a really good American accent. we use my MacBook microphone, the little tiny microphone for that. It's good fun.
Yeah, but Rob decided my voice was a bit too squeaky, so you pitch shifted me down, didn't you? So this is the announcement trailer that we did for Alone. So, thank you.
Thanks.
So yeah, that took us roughly a day, 2 days, I think, to put that together, and we were really pleased with it. You probably noticed, well, you might have noticed on the footage, we made it kind of really blurry, because we hadn't actually decided whether we were absolutely 100% on the look of the game, so we kind of thought, okay, well, we use depth of field, and people will be really confused. And, yeah, basically hide the look of it completely. So anyway, it went down really well. I think we had a couple of thousand views. We went to a game event called Res the following day. Me and Rob just kind of visiting and checking out other people's cool games. And yeah, it got picked up by some huge like Russian network or something, and we had shitloads of views.
Yeah, like 9,000. Over 9,000.
Right.
So once we got this kind of stuff out of the way, it was my job then to actually turn it into a real game in the programming side of things. So I spent a lot of time at my desk with my little working buddy there. This is actually my to-do list at one point. We use Trello, which is a wonderful tool. It's Trello, if anyone wants to use that. It's free, it's really good, but it's quite a small game as Alone, but each one of those cards is a lot of work, and Simon writes most of those.
Yeah, the middle one was yours, Rob, wasn't it, that I wrote?
So I actually rebuilt the entire code base 3 times. The first time I was testing the game on my iPhone 5, which was a flagship phone at the time, and I borrowed an iPhone 4 from Lil. Hi, Lil. And it ran at about 3 frames per second. So I cried for a little bit, and then I deleted the repo and started again, and did that again. After that, I didn't learn my lesson.
We'd already taken it to 2 shows at this point and had lots of people play it and love it. So we just
the phone would start melting in their hands. So everything in the level in the game is all procedurally generated, which means it's all randomly generated. Every single game's different. And it's based on a really strict set of rules and scripts. So that controls like how fast the ship goes, how wide the tunnel is you're flying through, and how like steep it is, and stuff like that. And it's really important for us to get that right. And Simon's the guy who really, really tweaks that to like the 0.05%. He's like really meticulous with it, which is good because I wouldn't do that. And I didn't want Simon to touch the code at all because he doesn't do that and he'll ruin it. So I built a web-based editor using Twitter Bootstrap, PHP and MySQL. And this is what this is. So Simon could log onto that and use a web interface to just add sets of rules. And each one of these colored blocks, green's easy, yellow's medium, and red's hard,
He made those colours just for me.
He didn't know what those words meant.
Kid-friendly version.
So the game would call these rules in at certain points and say, well, let's make this bit difficult. This is how rocks get thrown at you and comets and stuff like that. And this is the system he used to add colour schemes because Simon changes his mind on the colour all the time. So rather than me programming that all the time, I gave him an interface. Yeah, it went down quite well. This is the number of times Simon saved that document. Just look at that for a second.
I'm just going to walk off, I think.
For his birthday, I got him this mug which said, increase the multiplier by 0.05%, which is a real Skype message.
You can feel the difference. You can feel the difference, I swear. You can.
But the thing is, one of us needs to be that guy because we need it. I would just go, yeah, ship it. So this is a good time to talk about piracy. In the mobile game development scene, on the Google Play Store, there's loads and loads of piracy. And we're fine with it. Like, if you search for Alone or Puck APK on Google, you'll be able to download our game in like 5 seconds. But while I was looking through the API documentation of the framework I use, there was a note there where you could detect whether or not someone's paid for the game. And their recommendation was to just, if they haven't paid for it, just close the game, close it down. But we didn't want to do that because, if you're not going to pay for it, you're not going to pay for it. You might as well play it. But we thought we might have a bit of fun with it. So if you pirate Alone, we added it in. So if you play it well enough to learn how to play, and you get to about 1,000 meters, the ship will slowly grind to a halt.
We made it really easy to pirate as well, so it's really, really easy to pirate.
It will grind to a halt and just hover in the middle of the screen. And this is no message against piracy or any kind of stand. It was just a bit of fun. And it was quite fun. Yeah. And we'll talk about that again in a second. Oh, which brings us on to the music. My piano was actually broke at the time, so I did it all on this awesome little keyboard. We've got eight in-game tracks. It's all a mixture of electronic and orchestral music. And the main task of the music was to add some depth to the game. Because it's not like a silly game. It's not. We kind of want it to be more like serious and add some depth to the story. And give that really like energetic feel to it as well. And there's a 12-track version available to purchase on Bandcamp and iTunes and Spotify.
Okay, so at this point we're probably, what do I do? Okay. Which one? Oh yeah. Okay, so this point we've got the game. Rob's kind of really busy rebuilding it. This is the point where I kind of feel like we have loads of collateral. We start working on mock-ups and stuff on the marketing side. So this was a poster that we did for one of the shows that we went to in Manchester. It's a T-shirt. This was some Amiga box art, which anybody's from the kind of retro gaming days might see that. Again, it's all just kind of promotional stuff. That's a picture of Rob with a guy from Game. I can't remember, one of the big gamer, PC Gamer, yeah, something like that. This is the cover art for the CD, which I really wanted to do some like internal. Not the soundtrack even. Showing my age there. So I wanted to do like a first-person view from the ship, which I thought would be really cool to kind of explore what Alone might look like first-person, because we'll never go anywhere near that. So that's me with a Alone poster. It was a long show. It's wallpapers, mobile wallpapers. And then this is something that got us really noticed. This is a little bit of gameplay footage. So we're at the point where we felt like the game was good enough to show and to sort of really get out to the press. So we fired this up. I think we put this on Twitter, and within about an hour, it got picked up on Touch Arcade, which is one of the biggest US iOS blogs. And people was talking about it on there. Got loads of views, and we got really, really excited at this point. Yeah. So now we're kind of looking at the launch trailer. So again, the game is still being redeveloped for the third time in the background. Rob is really busy, so he doesn't need me pestering him. So I was off doing the launch trailer stuff. So at this point, we wanted to get across the gameplay, which we knew we had now. The style a bit more, kind of enforcing the world, and the concept a little bit more. More time to produce this. We've got real gameplay footage by this point. and loads of assets to work with because I've been busy making stupid stuff for the past X amount of weeks. More voiceovers from me and more pitch shift from Rob. So this is the launch trailer for Alone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We weren't expecting a clap. Thanks.
So trailer went out, did really, really well. I think we've had over 100,000 views on that now across sort of multiple channels, which is pretty amazing. That's the only kind of sense of story that we ever wanted to deliver in the game, and there's none of that actually in the game. It's just that trailer. So we wanted that to count. So about 10 days before launch, we put together a launch email. This is the email that we sent out to reviewers, Apple, Google. We kind of learned with the first game, Puck, that you really need those kind of relationships with Apple and Google, otherwise you've not really got much chance. And they've got to like the game as well, which is really important. And then we started working on the Twitter countdown stuff, which we created a load of sort of promotional stuff for the countdown to launch. We like the soundtrack codes and wallpapers and various other digital stuff. Pester Friends, that was fairly obvious. And this was launch day. So we launched on the 28th of August, and we were our little game Alone was sat by BioShock and John Madden, which is just like two of the biggest IPs in games, full stop, which is just really, really awesome. And if you check in the top right corner, this is actually live. There's a screenshot. That's Rob. That's his reaction when I sent him that screenshot.
I was pretty thrilled.
So that was a really awesome moment to capture. So this is us on the App Store. We got pretty close to just pipping the pretty famous other mobile game there, which was pretty awesome as well. It's at one place underneath Angry Birds. We got benchmark games. We've had various features since from Apple, which is really cool. They've really helped us. We've got Indie Game Showcase, which I think the month before was a guy called Terry Kavanagh, you might have heard of, who made Super Hexagon. So he got the Indie Game Showcase as well, which is really cool. And we got Best of 2014, which was like a list of 20 games. I read a stat last week that I think the 2014 there were 500 games submitted a day. 500 apps submitted a day. The split's about a third games. So yeah, we're really pleased with that. It was really late in the year as well, being kind of end of August. So yeah, it was good. Really cool list to be on. And for us, well, we're not quite.
We're nowhere near this.
We're not quite Brewster's Millions.
I mean, we're happy. We're nowhere near that.
Yeah. It's certainly been enough for us to develop more games. So this was kind of the results. This was what happened with Puck, and this is just so you can see like a comparison to the first game. So we got various kind of blogs posting about us, GamesEbo, Pocket Gamer. These are all like really well known sort of iOS blogs and Android blogs. We got a Google Play feature, and we got Editor's Choice on the iPad version in sort of Germany, Austria, and lots of other countries that kind of really appreciate minimal design and stuff, because I think because it was orange and really simple and cool. And then this is Alone, and this oops, I've shifted on. Well, it doesn't matter. So this compares the two. So the first part of there is Puck, and this is Alone. So we learned quite a bit on how to actually get noticed with Alone. So
This
piracy.
is back to piracy. So the game's out now, and I handle support for Laserdog because we don't have a support department. It's just me. And we started getting emails asking for customer support from people who pirated our game, which is really cool. So this one's like, there's a bug in Alone. It's not a bug. After reaching 1,000 meters.
Yeah, man.
And another one. Next one. I was playing on my friend's phone today, and whenever I reach 1,000 meters, the blue area, the ship seemed to float around. Which is just really interesting. Like, it was just a little bit of fun, but a lot of people ask for support on it.
You just can't believe people have the gall. Like, I mean, a lot of people blag stuff. I appreciate that, but you can't believe people actually have the gall to request support for it as well. It's like, what more do you want?
It was good because my reply was just simply, like, oh no, what version are you using? And they'd be like, 1.0.1. Oh, just use Google to update it, it'd be fine. And they'd be like, I can't.
But what was really kind of cool that came from that, though, was that we created loads of confusion. So, like, people were contacting us and they were like, they couldn't believe they were getting, like, versions and they weren't understanding why they weren't working. And so we kind of scuppered the pirates a little bit, didn't we? Because there was so many really crappy versions. Because we updated maybe 3 or 4 times after launch, and each version had this thing in there. So the pirates tend to kind of try and stay on top of that and create a new version to follow it. And, of course, all that happened is that people just more and more confused. So.
We're probably going to take this out eventually because I'm sick of seeing the emails in my inbox. But you could just have it for free now, I think. Oh yeah, so this is the main point of this presentation. Enough to go full time. Yes. We made just enough to quit our jobs in December. Simon closed his business and I quit my job as a web developer. And it's really cool because we get to make games full time.
Yeah, it's cool.
So what have we been doing since then? Yay. We're working on a new game now. We've been working on it since January. It's called Hopico. Yay! It's an ultra-fast platformer. It's on mobile, and for the first time for us, it's on PC and Mac, which we have no idea how that's going to go down. It's a touch or mouse-based platformer. It's time-based scores, so you just got to do it as fast as you can because we make stupidly fast games. It's retro, and it's got authentic chip music, which I've made on my Game Boy, which has been a lot of fun to do.
Well, you're about to hear some pretty loud, actually, I think, now. So
I think this is a gameplay
footage.
footage.
A little bit of gameplay footage to give you an idea of what it looks like. That's Hopico.
Thanks.
So yeah, it's pretty intense speedrunner, isn't it?
Yeah, we're working like really, really hard to get this finished. We were meant to submit it tomorrow, but we're just nowhere near close. And in fact, we made that video about 5 minutes before my taxi arrived to bring me here.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah.
Thank you.